The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Nicky Spagnola.
And it is time for another edition of Mick Shots here inside the SWBC podcast studio at the beautiful Star in Frisco.
Beautiful. You are so right.
Noon on a Tuesday. It is Packers week. Mickey has his Cowboys blue star on. Everson, what are you sporting today?
I got my Black College Hall of Fame pullover, which is going to set the tone for what I want to talk about.
All right. I can't wait to hear what Everson wants to talk about today.
All the Packers that are in the Pro Football Hall
Oh.
of Fame. I just read something. They got 28.
Wow.
28.
That's crazy.
But then
and the Cowboys have a couple of Packers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame who both play for both teams.
Being one of them.
But then they've been playing since 1933.
But Herb made it a point to say that he is not a Cowboy fan. I mean,
Adderley?
Yes, he sure did. I saw the quote, and he was like, hey, you know.
Well, he got raised by the Packers.
Exactly. And that was kind of the tone of his statement.
He won all those Super Bowls, or NFL championship games with the Packers.
Yeah.
However, when the Cowboys won their first Super Bowl in 1971, and I've got my Cowboys.
He can look it up.
Where'd that come from, Bill?
How many interceptions did Herb Adderley have in that 1971 season when the Cowboys won their first Super Bowl?
Well, why don't you tell us, Bill?
I'm about to tell you. He had 6 picks that season for the Dallas Cowboys, and now he's dissing on the Cowboys?
Yeah, he kind of dissed us. Like I dissed the Giants. I love that Giants team, but not a Giants fan. So I kind of get
it did one thing for you.
It did one thing for me, just like it did one thing for her.
Yep.
And he was 6. That's a cute number. That's a nice, cute number for interceptions.
We got a nice tour behind us.
I had 7 and 9, so that's all he got was 6.
Oh,
sorry. Well, 14 games. Was it 14?
All right, you're going to force me to look up Herb Adderley's statistics on Pro Football Reference. In the meantime, Mickey Spagnola.
Look at all this.
You've got a full legal pad. Everson just noticed his adoring fans outside.
That's because I was too busy talking about myself at the time.
These are Packer shots.
When I talk about myself, I'm distracted.
Ladies and gentlemen, Everson Walls. Yes, they're taking pictures of you, Everson. There you go. All right, Mickey, what did you say?
I said I got a whole list of Packer shots here for you.
Oh,
Packer shots. Let's go.
Packer shots.
Here we go. That's right. He grew up a Packers fan.
Yes, so we're not going to enjoy this too much, Bill.
Nope, not at all. Mm-hmm. Surprised you don't have your Packer green and gold on, Mickey. Right. Where's your letter jacket?
You know what?
I think they check you at the door when you start wearing stuff like that.
I don't think I ever had. I mean, that wasn't a thing to buy stuff back then, was there? I mean,
well, at least not in your family.
Yeah. Well,
not in mine either.
We were all Packer fans, but
mine either.
That wasn't an expenditure we could afford, by the way. I guarantee you.
Okay, don't lose your train of thought.
So two numbers stood out when I was kind of looking at things. So in the Packers' loss to Detroit was 15-9. Aaron Rodgers' quarterback rating was 53.5, thanks to 3 interceptions. The other one
by a team that just fired their secondary coach.
Right.
The other one was,
they're firing everyone except the ones that matter, right? We're going to get the D-line coach. Oh, well, what did he do?
That was
right? What did he do?
Not the defensive coordinator.
No, not the coordinator. No, we're going to get you.
The defense coordinator already quit.
Well, see.
Carolina.
Because he messed with his
he got fired when Matt Rule got fired.
Crazy.
So, but back to Packers.
Mm-hmm.
And Rodgers, his cap hit for this year, $28.5 million. Next year, he's guaranteed $59 million. And the only way they get out of it is if he retires.
Then what's the cap hit if he retires?
Oh, the dead money?
Uh-huh.
It was going to be even more than the 59 guaranteed. So
they're in a whole heap of trouble up there.
Yeah, and that's what happens. And I'm going to bring this back to the Cowboys. And when you start signing these type of deals, and then you're going to moan that, I need some wide receivers. Well, they can't afford wide receivers. They have about the same amount of cap space right now for this year as the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys is right at 7. Theirs is 7.7 million. So, yeah, that's why it's a cautionary tale for this Odell Beckham Jr. stuff. Because what I read is he's not just looking for a prove-it deal for the rest of this season. He's talking about, I'd like to get someplace for 4 years and be able to buy a house and quit all this suitcase carrying stuff. Well, if he wants that, he ain't playing for cheap, right? So,
I mean, when you start talking about a prove-it deal, you start off with a prove-it contract.
Well, it's going to be 5 games, basically, by the time he's ready to play, right? And then who knows about playoffs, right? So, yeah. So, they're up in the ante for, everybody's, the Cowboys are interested. Okay, we're interested. I'm going to kick that tire, but I can't afford much because next year, and we talked about it, right? Next year, Dak's base salary goes up. You're going to have to re-sign Diggs. You're going to have to re-sign Lamb at some point if you don't want them playing in the final year.
Not that far away from
contract.
the Parsons second
And then
contract.
Parsons is coming up, right? So you got to be careful saying, we're all in because we're going to win the Super Bowl. Well, okay, the Packers were all in a couple of years ago when they signed Rodgers, and now what kind of shape are they in?
Mickey, you are a year away from Terrence Steele?
Yes. Yes, this is his 3rd year.
Uh-huh. He's got 1 more year, and he's a free agent.
Guess who else? Biotish?
But I'm talking. You're talking about a tackle in this league.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
An offensive tackle in this league, and what do offensive tackles command on the
even
free
if
agent
you're
market?
the right
Even
side,
if you're the
right?
right tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking upwards of $10 million a year for your right tackle.
And he's playing well.
Mm-hmm.
He is playing well.
Yeah.
He's playing very well.
And no one talks about that contract that's looming.
And if you look at the rest of the league, everybody's desperate for tackles. So somebody will pay them. Mm-hmm. Now, can you afford to pay them, or are you going to have to start from scratch?
I think the
again?
bare minimum, assuming Terrence Steele keeps playing where he's playing right now, is the bare minimum would be a 3-year, $30 million deal.
Yeah, that's what I had in my mind when you brought it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you got to be careful how you spend your money. I had some Cowboy fan said, well, I'm all in. Just spend what you got to spend this year and try to win the Super Bowl. And then I said, and then you're good for 10 years of, maybe losing records like happening to some teams. Or what if you spend all that money and you don't win the Super Bowl and then you don't have money going forward? So I just think you have to be realistic about this stuff.
When you start talking about having that much money available or how much you have available, and I brought this up yesterday. So in the off season, there's no more quarterbacks, or high paid players, donating to the.
Oh yeah. Donating to the cause. They're taking as much money as they
don't
can
do
get.
that. They don't do that now. Do we do this? Is that in the makings? I mean, because
Rodgers' extension or 3-year deal that he re-signed was 3 years, $150 million, 40.8 signing bonus. That means million. 150.8 guaranteed, and 101 million guaranteed at signing. So yeah, he wasn't thinking about the team, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't consider that we ain't got any money to pay a wide receiver. We can't keep Devontae Adams, no matter if you're mad or not. We just don't have the finances to do it.
And not only that, his off-season participation was minimal.
Right.
And that didn't help when it came to having the lack of receivers with lack of experience, and you trying to get accustomed to how they play and having a rapport with
and you're going to have
teammates.
to raise young guys,
That's
right?
It.
Because it's not for just this year.
He chose not to address that much in the offseason.
It's down the line.
Right.
These are what you're going to have to go with. They signed Randall Cobb, and it wasn't that much. It was like I think his base salary was $2 million for a veteran like that. Well, unfortunately, now he's on IR.
Yes.
So, they kind of made – and he helped make that bed
He
now
did.
that they're in this 3-6
So
start.
can he remedy that in the offseason by helping donate to the cause?
He would have to restructure significantly. But usually when you restructure, you're getting paid some as a restructure bonus, and you kind of keep moving it down the –
Kick that can down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get any less expensive.
Well, he'll be retiring soon.
He turns 39 next year.
Yeah. So, I mean, does that sound feasible for a 39-year-old Hall of Fame quarterback, highest paid,
right,
to go into a situation like that this next offseason? Okay, this is my last year.
Especially coming off a 3-14 year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was reading.
Well, they're 3-6 right now.
Boy, not much optimism there. I mean, coming off a year like we anticipate him coming off of, does that bode well for a 39-year-old future Hall of Fame quarterback to go into a situation where I'm going to restructure my stuff for this last 2 years?
Yeah.
Does that sound feasible to you?
No, because if you're restructuring it, you're still you said kicking the money down the road. So at some point, he may not get it, but the Packers are going to have to account for it. And I was reading the Milwaukee Journal and the Green Bay Press Gazette, and there was already columns about, it's like every game going forward, it's almost a playoff game for them right now.
Yeah.
And that in 2023, you have to consider, you're going to blow it up to start over in 2023.
Yeah.
At only 9 games into the season, they're already writing up there about blowing it up. And that's usually not a real aggressive media corps up there. I mean, I'm not saying they're fans, because I have a decent guy I'm friends with that has been covering them at the Milwaukee Journal for years. But they're just being straightforward. And
if you look at their pattern in the last 3 or 4 years, the team and Rodgers have not been eye to eye on pretty much anything.
Well, you know what was funny? Somebody, and I haven't found the story yet, but somebody said, and we had him on last time the Cowboys played the Packers. Remember Tom Silverstein? He had written a story pointing out that, how everybody was writing at the end for Mike McCarthy up there in 2018 that he and Aaron Rodgers weren't seeing eye to eye. Well, he wrote a story just recently how Rodgers and Matt LaFleur aren't seeing eye to eye.
I don't think Rodgers ever sees eye to eye with anyone except for maybe Devontae.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's already cropped up, right? And yesterday, and we'll get into the things Mike McCarthy said about going back, but he kind of once again defended the relationship with Aaron Rodgers, saying he enjoyed the conversations they had, their meetings on Monday, and he said we usually ended with a hug and I love you, and it's like, well, okay.
Hey, let me tell you something. This is one thing that I have always, as a defensive back, I guess I'm a little bit discriminatory because I hear things where quarterbacks are always being, am I using the word placated towards? I mean, we just kiss their butts over and over again. And don't ask a wide receiver to say anything bad about any quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh, man, because he wants to get touches.
He's going to get frozen out, right?
Exactly. So, to me, it's like, it's like a taboo subject to talk about. It's like talking about race relations when you're talking about Aaron Rodgers or talking to a quarterback, because all they want to do is just make sure he's happy. Don't say anything to upset the apple cart, and we'll be fine. And that is not the case, especially when you have someone as combative as, saying, Aaron Rodgers. These last 3-4 years, it has been I'm over here. You guys handle your business. I'll come in when I'm ready, and I'm going to be ready because I am Aaron Rodgers. And to me, that is not that's what you do with tennis players. Yeah. That is not a team sport. It is not a team sport attitude. And we give these quarterbacks, and yes, I'm speaking strictly at quarterbacks, we give them too much leeway and too much benefit of the doubt.
So real quickly, I know we got to.
Oh, you're just gonna run by that, huh?
No. You covered it. There's nothing I can add to that. You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. But I was going to say, and they're in this situation, and now they've got injuries.
Yeah.
They lose Rashawn Gary, their leading sack guy. Had 6 in the first 6 games, and he hadn't had any since, but he tore his ACL. So he's done.
That was a linebacker?
Yeah,
I saw that the other night.
Their cornerback, that was bad. Eric Stokes, has an ankle and knee, and he left the game on Sunday in a walking boot and crutches. So that doesn't seem bode well for him. Their wide receiver, Romeo, is it Dobbs? Is that how they pronounce it? He's a rookie, right?
Yes.
He's got a high ankle sprain, so he's out a couple weeks at least, right? Their other rookie wide receiver, Christian Watson, was big on Bill's list.
Was.
He had suffered.
Specify that.
He had suffered a concussion. He had to miss a game. He came back this past game, and he got knocked out of the game. They said it wasn't a concussion, but he couldn't finish the game. So they're saying he might be back this week. And then running back.
What are you laughing at, Bill?
Keep going. I'll tell you in a second.
And running back Aaron Jones left the game with a knee, and they're saying, and he didn't return. They're saying he has a chance to come back.
And who's their backup running back? Dillon? No,
A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon.
How's he doing? Because I
think he can play.
Because he had a run-in with someone during the game, and it wasn't pretty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
he wasn't on the list that LaFleur went over on Monday.
All right. So
but
Aaron Jones sounds like he's going to play.
Yeah, they think he has a chance to get back. Yes. So they've got not only losing 5 straight. How does that happen too to teams that always have problems winning? They always have a lot of injuries. It seems like.
Yeah, well.
Maybe to contribute to it.
Why does my temperature keep going up? I mean, it's because I'm sick. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
I was laughing about Christian Watson because and Mickey's acting like he wasn't on board.
No, I was. I liked what I saw. I did.
So I was all on him until the first play of the season when he dropped an 80-yard touchdown.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yes, that guy. Okay.
The Packers, that was the turning point. The turning point of the Packers season. I think I know it was the first series. Might have been the first play of the season. And Aaron Rodgers hit this guy in stride, right in the hands, and it took me right back to draft day when I was touting this guy. And supposedly, producer Supreme can vouch for this. There are scouts around the league who said, no, that guy can't catch.
He can't catch. I remember you saying that.
Well, you know what happens, though, at that time, you know, unless you watch all the games, you see the highlights, and you're going, oh, this guy's pretty big. And somebody in the scouting department said, well, he is what we saw. He was very inconsistent catching the ball.
Right.
He has a chance still to be a really good player. Seriously.
Is it Lamar Chase? Chase. He has problems. Jamar Chase, he had problems.
Yeah.
Coming out of college.
That's right. And in preseason last year. And then all of a sudden he started catching everything in sight.
So you can't always go by that.
Yeah, the drops kind of get pushed to the side in college, right? It's like, oh, look at the yards, look at the catches.
And Watson has had some injury issues the first half of the season.
You know, you can't be, as a wide receiver, you can't be, 50-50 like.
No, you can't.
I'll catch it.
Oh, no.
The other thing on Watson.
This ain't baseball.
You can bat 500 in baseball, and it's really good.
Amazing.
And I always say you can't bat 500 in the journalism business. You can't be 50-50 and telling it right or wrong, right?
True.
And
the other thing on Watson, in the defense of us who thought that he had some potential in the league, the emphasis was on the potential in the league, not as a guy who could come in. Because I think he may have just had like 38 catches in college at North Dakota State. They didn't throw the ball much, you know.
Okay.
I mean, you see how the North Dakota State quarterbacks are doing in the league, right?
Come on. He got injured. Come on.
But Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you spell that? W-I-N-C?
Oh, I like that. That's good. And Trey Lance out in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's the injury.
That's the injury you're referring to. All right, we've got much to get into, including an emotional Mike McCarthy yesterday at his press conference. When we come back on Mick Shots in a moment.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
We paid how much for those lessons?
Shh, she's doing great.
Oh, yeah, totally. Can you pass me a Pepsi Zero Sugar? Great job, honey! Oh, look at that. That's not the end.
No way. Now it's time for the encore.
You know what? You're right. 5 times? Not enough times.
For everyone who traded in rock concerts for their kids' recitals, you've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar. That's what I like.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. You hear that? I'm a torrential downpour. Torrential? What's that even mean? It means you can't see out of your windshield. And if you have the wrong car insurance, you might have to make it rain to fix your bumper. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mick Shots.
K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. From corporate homes to your home. Have your roof checked by choice, not by chance. Call now, 214-225-4860. That's kpostcompany.com.
All right, Everson, would you like to say what you wanted to say starting off the show? Or you want to save that?
I want to do it now because we are on a roll. I really want to know what the Rooney Rule, how was that applied towards this Indianapolis Colts signing or hiring of Jeff Saturday? Because sounds like to me that was just like a good old boy situation going on up there.
I don't think it applies to interim head coaches.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you don't have time to do a search during the middle of the season. Somebody's got to take
Most
over.
candidates are under contract elsewhere.
Yeah.
Would you consider that a loophole?
No, because I bet it's just for the rest of the season.
So what if he does well?
Well, then
they need to have a full search, regardless.
Yeah.
So they will not be allowed necessarily just on paper
stamp it.
to just say, "Hey, he won out." Let's say he has a winning record on the way out. We want you for next year.
I think they have to go through a search.
They have to go through the process now. They can't just say, "Okay, we don't need anybody else."
Well, you know what? I mean, to research that, it's like, what did the Cowboys do with Jason when they elevated him to head coach, and then they signed him to?
And that was 2010.
But Jason was a coach.
On the staff.
You understand?
Right. So they have basically, even though
he wasn't a
Saturday.
Yes, he was not coaching high school Catholic sports or whatever. He was in the NFL.
They technically went outside the organization to hire this interim head coach.
That's right.
And what do you mean by Catholic sports?
Well, that was. Yeah, I guess that did kind of make it sound a little bit more derogatory, right? But
and I don't know if he actually. He wasn't currently the private school coach.
Yeah, why was that even mentioned?
Because
that's the only reason
that was his coaching experience.
Yeah, because that was
so
in
he
the
may
Adam.
not be coaching right now.
I think no, he wasn't.
No, I'm saying that was his coaching.
I thought he was going to have to retire from coaching the high school team in order to.
No.
Okay.
He didn't walk away from.
So he does have coaching. He does have coaching experience. Wow, I stand corrected.
And go back to the Catholic thing.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, that's right. A private school. Right. You know what? Doug Peterson, before he was hired by now he wasn't hired as a head coach right from the private school in Louisiana where he was coaching, but he was after he retired from the NFL, and it's probably his kids, probably the same thing Jason Witten's doing at Liberty Christian in Argyle where he coached at a private school in Louisiana. I don't remember how many years, 3 or 4 years, and then the Eagles hired him, I think, as an assistant, and then he eventually became the head coach there. So
if you're in search for an interim coach, just for lack of time, you can just throw anybody in there.
We are candidates. Right here.
Come on, man. This is not right. Yeah, thank you. Come on.
Arizona.
Words of wisdom here.
Arizona did it with Steve Wilkes when whoever got fired in Arizona, and he was the interim.
Well, he became the full-time head coach.
And then
they've done it in Carolina right now.
Where did he come from? What was his experience?
Carolina.
Carolina now, but in Arizona.
He was Carolina before going to Arizona.
In Arizona, what was he before he became Arizona's interim coach?
Wasn't he interim there, or did they hire him
He's the interim in Carolina
else?
right now.
Right now, but not in Arizona.
No. In Arizona, what was his background before he became interim?
No, he's saying he wasn't interim in Arizona. I thought he had taken over.
That.
And once again, even he has NFL experience, whether he was hired.
Yeah, he had been a defensive coordinator.
Once again, we're this is different here. I mean, everything you're bringing up, it's almost close to protocol. But you can just hire anyone. When I say anyone, we are candidates.
The Cowboys could do the same with Jason Witten if they wanted to.
So
if they needed an interim,
or Mickey Spagnola.
That's right.
So in regards to the Rooney Rule, and really how it's applied, that to me is almost a loophole.
You know that is a great example. Okay, I'm not obviously these are going great here right now, but. Jason Witten is actually coaching right now, and I don't know how long Saturday coached at this private school.
Till Sunday, I think, maybe.
Yeah, but if
yuck.
I got you. I'm trying to stay focused here. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm trying to stay focused here. Go ahead, Bill.
But anyway, Witten and Saturday those are
similar.
two very similar situations. Like if ever 3 years from now, 4 years from now, Jerry was looking for an interim head coach, Witten would be a prime candidate.
And that is BS. I mean, I love Witten. And once again, everyone talks about what a great guy Saturday is because I see him on TV. Everybody loves him. He's smart. He's a great guy. He was a center for Peyton Manning. So he knew the game. He knows the game very well. But, this is to me a very convenient loophole for the NFL.
Well, you could be hired as the interim head coach.
Once again, let's be realistic here, okay? Because to me, that's something that really needs to be addressed. Let's say a coach gets fired in week 2, and then you bring in an interim, and that interim is someone who clearly should not be coaching.
Well, here's a sort of a parallel. It's not a coach, but it's a GM. John Lynch was hired from the broadcast booth to become the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers.
And who's doing a great job.
That's right.
But it's not about after the fact. It's the practices, the hiring practices that should be adhered to from the beginning. And when you start talking about interim coach, to me that ain't nothing but a loophole. So Jeff Saturday's like, okay, I can't find anybody out there that really would be a qualified head coaching candidate. Since I'm consulting you guys, why don't you just go ahead and pay me that $2+ million or whatever they're paying him?
Well,
did they talk about how much he's being paid?
You would have broadcast.
Because we're talking money here, guys. Did they talk about how much money he got paid for?
I hadn't seen that. No,
I have not seen it.
It has to. I'm sure they've agreed on something already because he is now the interim head coach. So it's been agreed upon.
Your broadcast experience on the podcast would be your experience, right?
See, but I'm waiting, Jerry. I could be assistant head coach with McCarthy right now. I could be that guy on his shoulder every once in a while. I could do that. So, no, I just think it's something that, as we look at it, it can be a problem because now this interim head coach, even though he was never qualified to be an interim head coach, if he does well, which would be great for him, then it almost kind of gives him a head start in regards to next year's position. You understand?
Yeah.
And that, to me, should be addressed in the Rooney Rule.
I've got
interim head coaches should be addressed in the Rooney Rule. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, I've got it cleared up on Jeff Saturday and his previous coaching experience.
At that Catholic school.
This little lightness.
Which otherwise known as Hebron Christian Academy in Georgia.
There you go.
Yeah. 2017, he became the head coach there. And he was there 17, 18, 19, 3 years, and then he resigned. He had a 20-16 record, made the playoffs every year, won 3 playoff games. So there you go.
Year.
There's his coaching experience.
So, now we're talking about, John Lynch, who, first of all, is doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great guy, great job, smart as hell. San Francisco is doing well because of him. How he got hired, still, we don't know how or why, number one. We don't even want to talk about Kingsbury. We don't even want to talk about that. This guy got fired, right? From
Texas Tech. Yep.
You talk about falling uphill and getting a job in the NFL.
He's about to fall again.
Yeah, he's about to fall his ass right on out of there. So, this is just really something that should be buttoned down in the Rooney Rule. It really should be. I think it needs to be revitalized or, I don't know, somehow retooled to where it's more effective because it's really not as effective as it should be, especially when you're talking about this loophole. This is a loophole that I'm sure some teams are aware that is there in the Rooney Rule when you're talking about interim coaches.
But it's a temporary hire.
And how temporary, right? Not just temporary, but temporarily
financially.
Yes. Maybe a break. We're talking money here, man. You just throw away money to a guy who he was barely 500 in high school.
Speaking of throwing away money, did you see how much Frank Reich's making sitting on his couch?
Talk to him.
Oh, after they fired him?
Yeah, he's making $200,000 a week till 2026.
Oh, dang. Wow.
How much is Matt Rule making?
About that much, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
that's better than a pension.
Wow, that's crazy.
$200,000 a week till 2026. I read.
And so when you're talking about an organization as the NFL, and how it's the most popular game in town, let's just be real, baseball, basketball can't compare, and you're just letting them throw away money like this, just throw it around. To me, that needs to be addressed because it's like you don't care that this guy is not qualified at all and you're throwing him millions of dollars. I know he's getting at least $2 million. And to me, it's just something that just, as Gene Stoller used to say, it chaps my ass. And I'm sorry, it does. Somebody got to talk to me.
Let's go get some salve for him because it's time to take a break.
Okay, my bad. I need some salve. Okay. Here we are. My bad.
All right. An emotional Mike McCarthy when we come back here on Mick
I'm emotional too, damn it.
We paid how much for those lessons?
Shh. She's doing great.
Oh, yeah, totally. Can you pass me a Pepsi Zero Sugar? Great job, honey. Oh, look at that. That's not the end.
No way. Now it's time for the encore.
You know what? You're right. 5 times? Not enough times.
For everyone who traded in rock concerts for their kids' recitals, you've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar. That's what I like.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. You hear that? I'm a torrential downpour. Torrential? What's that even mean? It means you can't see out of your windshield. And if you have the wrong car insurance, you might have to make it rain to fix your bumper. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Back to Mick Shots.
Night Market at the Star. Knock out all your holiday shopping during back-to-back days of Market at the Star, presented by Fleestyle. On November 17th, make sure to shop from 30-plus festive vendors at Night Market at the Star from 4 to 9 p.m. Then come back and see us on Saturday, November 18th from 10 to 2 p.m. to explore goods from 50-plus local vendors. Visit thestardistrict.com for more information.
Nice.
Okay. Everson, you're going to love this segment. Okay, we're talking about going home. We're talking about Mike McCarthy, his press conference yesterday. He's going back to Green Bay. Okay, Mickey, fill us in on your thoughts on Mike when he was asked about going home.
Well, I'm going there to win, and he stayed with it. And the other thing that the players got out of it was he said that you should go back and reflect on what you did that was home that helped you propel to where you are today. And it kind of stuck with some of the players. I think Tyler Smith was really good about it. He said, yeah, sitting here and thinking where I came from and what I did, and now I'm starting in the NFL, I reflect on what got me here.
Yeah.
And then they kept probing at him. And at one point he said, "This is BS. You're just trying to get me to cry."
Which meant he was about to cry.
Right.
He got emotional.
And he got
he
very
talked
emotional.
about his daughter was born there.
Daughters were born there. His wife
plural.
grew up there.
Yeah,
and then that's when
they still have their place there.
And that's when he started, and then he had to do this. You can tell the tears were welling.
Yeah.
And then he had to hit the podium like this to recompose himself.
Man up. Man up. Yeah, been there.
But it was, and I understand.
It was cool.
And that was one of the questions I was going to talk about you, because I don't think you had much remorse, maybe.
Oh, wait. That's where I wanted to go. Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right, so.
Don't let me steal Bill's stuff.
Yeah, it's just Mick Shots.
You spoiled it. I was about to say, do we know of anyone who was let go unceremoniously at a place and then
came back
victoriously? And I don't know of anyone like that.
One thing I can say as we move on to the obvious, one thing I can say is mine was more of an anger, revenge. So I didn't have time to get emotional about it.
In 1990, when the schedule came out, was there a game that you circled on the schedule?
Of course.
It was the second game of the year.
2 games.
He scheduled both of them.
But one of them, the first one,
coming home,
was the second game of the season, and it was at Texas Stadium, coming home for Everson Walls.
I'm going to get my licks in right now because from what I heard, Jimmy Johnson wrote a book
And I'm interviewing him tomorrow.
And so I'm sure he got some BS in there.
Oh, I just got my copy yesterday in the mail, and I'm interviewing him tomorrow morning. Is there something you'd like me to ask Jimmy tomorrow morning?
Don't ask him a damn thing for me. How about that?
You can ask him. I need a copy of the book.
But no, my whole thing was, and speaking of Jimmy, it was all about coming back, and I don't need much motivation. But I knew that it would be sweet to come back and not just kick the Cowboys' butts, but to let him know what he already knew.
Yeah, he did.
That when it
that
comes
was
down
one of
to,
those premeditated examples.
Exactly. And I didn't like being used as an example. Right. I was here before you were here. No one knew of Jimmy Johnson. I was born here. So this is my town. You understand? So for him to come in and try to make all these arrangements and stuff, I really didn't appreciate it. And that's what I brought back with me to it. But you want to make sure that your anger doesn't overwhelm you.
Right.
You want your anger to be fueled, but you will still want to be poised in everything you did. And I had a hell of a game that game.
You had an interception.
Of course. Come on. That's what I do.
But you weren't.
Did I play?
Yes.
I had an interception.
I had
You weren't out on the field gritting your teeth and going, okay, I'm going to make this.
No.
It's in your preparation. That's probably, right?
That's right.
It's like, I got to be prepared for this.
But the funny thing is, after the game, Jimmy's so emotional, man. That's his strength and his problem.
Right.
Is his emotion. And so he felt somehow that he had to come and shake my hand first before he shook Parcells' hand after the game. And, I took that as a matter of respect, but also somewhat of a regret from him. Like, maybe I did screw up. And, that's why he was trying to catch up with me here lately and finally caught up with me and apologized for cutting me. And
really?
He did. And he said he had a couple of other apologies as well. He said he never should have gotten rid of Jack Del Rio as well when he let both of us go. He said I should have stayed at safety and helped the young guys in that secondary. And he also said that Jack Del Rio should have hung around and helped with those young linebackers as well.
Well, he would have been the best linebacker, right? Because he went through 91, Del Rio, if I remember. And he would have been better than Robert Jones, who they drafted in the first round and probably regretted it, didn't get a second contract.
Right.
But Jimmy had a way of trying to send messages through some of his actions.
Yeah, and he's still trying to send messages publicly about me, which I don't appreciate at all, because he's rewriting history in regards to our encounters. So I'm sure the book will have something to say about that.
I can't wait to get home.
I put it in my book as well. So he has a chance to fire back. That's his thing. He has that right. But we both know the truth, Jimmy.
And by the way, if this works out for McCarthy the way it did for Everson going home, all right, Giants won that game over the Cowboys 28-7, and Everson had an interception. Who had a pick six in that game? Lawrence Taylor.
He sure did. That's right.
All right.
It was.
So I'm going on the record already. Micah Parsons is going to have a pick six in McCarthy's return to Green Bay. Okay.
Now McCarthy did say in the he said despite they asked him about leave, how it ended, and he said, there was a dent in the relationship, but again. It's not. He made it sound like it wasn't about the Packers. It's the people that he left behind.
Yeah.
And when I think about going from, and I didn't get fired, but I left Jackson to come to Dallas. And when I think back about those days, it's not so much who I was working for; it was the people that I met, and it was hard to leave. And so I can imagine for him, 13 years. Do you realize that's the second longest tenure of a Green Bay Packers coach?
Wow.
Only Curly Lambeau had more. And I think he probably was the owner at the time, too. They got the stadium named after him.
Yeah, I think so.
But he was there longer. But his 13 years outdid Lombardi.
There's really no Rooney Rule back then. The owner is also
I
the
got
coach.
it. We don't need these guys.
Look at George Hallis, right?
But when and that's never lost on me, is how the people, it doesn't just football players and athletes.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their story, man.
Right.
And it's impactful. I mean, you had to move. You had to pick up. How many times we talked about this earlier? How many times have you had to change jobs? I mean, that's just too many times in your life that you've had to do that. So I never look at athletes as anyone special that had to go through that, because everyone's story to me, man, it makes you what you are right now. Whatever you went through, that's why who you are right now. That's why we got mixed shots right now.
That's right.
Because you had to go through that crap you had to go through. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's got that story that motivates them.
I had one forced leaving and one basically terminated, right? And I was like, okay, I'll go back and show them.
And you're still here, damn right.
And I was my motivation.
That's right. And that's the feeling you got to have.
And one was like just making things miserable, and it was the best thing to happen because it gave me the motivation to move on. It's time to go.
There's anger.
And that was which one?
From Columbia, Missouri to Jackson, Mississippi.
Right. But see, there's the anger there, but that you didn't take that anger, didn't defeat you.
No.
You use it as fuel.
It was my motivation.
That's it. That's it. You got to love that. You got to love that, brother.
And by the way, in 1990.
I don't know if I showed them, but.
Well, you're still here. You showed yourself. That's all that matters.
By the way, in 1990, when Everson Walls returned to Dallas and the Giants were victorious in that second game of the season, what happened at the end of that season? Everson Walls walked off the field victorious in a Super Bowl. And so if history can play out with Mike McCarthy the same way.
You got me right. That's it, Bill. I'm setting I'm getting my plane up there right now.
I think
ready to go.
Bill's got his pick and pick to click. It's going to be Mike
McCarthy.
Ready,
baby, for the Super Bowl.
That's right.
He's going to pull the strings to
You know what we
win
need to
this
do maybe tomorrow?
Get Mike on?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
We're at the halfway point of this season.
Yeah.
Right. Basically right now.
Unofficial, but yeah.
I mean, halftime of the game on Sunday will be the exact halfway point of the season.
I was thinking about this the other night. Go ahead.
Think about where the Packers are, where the Bucs are. I think the Packers were my team to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. We need to, at the halfway point, pick who's going to be in that Super Bowl. And it is not easy coming up with a team from the NFC.
No, it's not.
I think we need to refine it a little bit better than that. Like, who's the favorite right now?
Well, the Eagles would be the favorite right now because they're the only unbeaten team.
In our eyes.
Right.
Yeah, in our eyes.
Yeah. So, and we look at
because it's the halfway point.
Yeah. I mean, the Cowboys are sitting there 6-2, and
the coach that was on the hot seat,
and right now
kind of in the freezer now.
That's right, baby.
And
let's do it even more than that. Let's not just that, but how about the MVP right now in the
I like it. I like it, and then at the halfway point, and then we'll figure it out at the end of the season just how things changed. But even the AFC now, Josh Allen's hurt. I mean, this is a UCL. That's a Tommy John type injury, and so the landscape is changing in the AFC too. Crazy. That's what makes this unbelievable.
That's his second time though, right? Having a problem with that.
Yeah, second
with
time
his elbow.
With the elbow, yeah. So anyway, all right. So and then of course we'll dive deep into these Packers as the week goes on here.
We've kind of done that. Yeah, maybe we might talk about the Cowboys deep dive.
And so anyway, we will shout at you again tomorrow at noon here on Mick Shots.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!